I am here on Bathhouse Row in Hot Springs, Arkansas, home to a national park built around a real geothermal hot spring. So I have a huge passion in general for the type of work that makes the world a better place. I love experiential design. I've done quite a bit of it, but now I'm doing something similar here in Hot Springs at a historic bathhouse, which is being retrofitted from its prior use as a bathhouse to somewhat of a contemporary art museum education space that really explains how all of these geothermal vents work. Ooh, very hot. Hot Springs is a super unique place. I get the vibe that it's a very eccentric type of place. People have been coming here for centuries to soak it in. These buildings were once the spas and wellness centers of their day. Now there's still some actual bathhouses here functioning, but some of them have been turned into cultural spaces. The one that I'm working in today is the Ozark Bathhouse. It was once a functioning bathhouse, but it's now being transformed into kind of a science center for hot springs. The installation that I'm working on is the audio-visual anchor of the experience. It'll run 10 hours a day for at least 5 years. Let's go check it out. It's coming up right here. Pretty epic shot here.
What's up, sir? How you doing today?
Doing great. You want to just snap that on?
Yep.
But yeah, I'd love to see just like a walkthrough as we get.
Now that we're got a little more stuff in the space. Some of these pieces, there's going to be a dragon's tail here on the wall. It's going to be sweet. Around the corner, we've got what's going to be a mirrored, feels like you're in rock situation. So this entire museum is talking about thermal water of Hot Springs National Park. You walk through this and it's going to be really cool. It's actually being operated by Mid-America Science Museum. So these are all going to be mirrored once we take off the cover. And this room is empty right now, but there's going to be a big dragon tail that you're going to see in a second. And then over on this side, there's going to be this sequin wall situation. And then we've got a rock wall right here. And then timeline wall. And then you walk into this space, which is the cool thing that Dallas and I have been collaborating on. And we've got some pieces for other exhibits. This is actually more of that mirror wall. But we've got the exhibit ready that we've been working on that he's done this fantastic sound design on. We're getting there. We're almost ready. And then in this room, there's actually a little more in here today, which is super cool. We've got this water feature, and then there's a bathtub with it'll have a ball that goes Planko style, some historical things and talking about the rock of the area, and then a thermal water feature that's going to talk about the heated water of the area, following through to one last room that's a photo opportunity space. So this is going to be a bunch of different photo places that you can take photos. One of them's you're standing in a bathtub situation, which is a historical thing to Hot Springs. Yeah, so you're going to get to see it a little more done, but we're not quite there because that's how life goes when you're building museum exhibits. This is all going to be one big seamless wall. It's getting taped and mudded. We used MDF so kids can't punch through the screen because kids are going to do that. That's just how kids are. And then we've got speaker grates that are going to cover this so that it looks nice and flush across, but we still get that nice, wonderful sound design through into the space. I have been on this project since June of 2024. It is now May of 2025, so 11 months. And basically the brief I got was we want to create a immersive projection mapped type experience that explains the geothermal heating of water specific to Hot Springs National Park to kids ranging from, we kind of targeted 7 to 14. We came up with this concept that brought this maximized use of space, because basically what I was handed was this room, a photo of this room in a budget, and said, what can we do with this?
And not only that, but this is a legit historical National Parks Registry space. And so the real important thing here is to, we're a blip in time in this longevity of this 100%. Space. So it's coming in here and not affecting anything.
This building is 102 years old. And this operated as a true bathhouse. The room we're actually standing in was the women's bathing room for the bathhouse. So basically we are in a historical building explaining the history of the park because the thermal water in Hot Springs National Park is actually the oldest federally protected natural resource in the United States. We're trying to tell the story of the water cycle of thermal water that is coming up now that's actually 4,000-year-old water.
And it's hot.
It's hot. This is what I call my hero shot, or my hero frame. And this was a very specific location that I wanted minimal housing to show up, but I also wanted to show the layers of the area, because basically part of what makes this area unique is it's kind of like some higher being took their hand, pushed down, and then twisted. So you get this weird zigzaggy, funky, and you can kind of see it here where you got like layer, 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 and then another layer back there of these hills. And same thing over here on this wall. You've got a layer, a layer, a layer, a layer, and then another layer. And it creates these valleys that allow the water to catch and then just soak right in, because the rock's basically been crushed. So it gives that channel for the water to go underground. So we wanted that high level to show how it all starts. And that is one of the unique things of the area is all of these kind of catch basin areas. What we did was we actually used a Inspire 3 drone with a GPS locked flight path that we were able to use the exact same flight path and then rotate the camera for a bunch of different angles. So that way, even though it's not a perfect 360 image, it gives you that feeling of you're actually flying through the sky on all four walls, because it all flies in the exact same path at the exact same speed, just in different angles. My vision for this was, and one of the things that we talked about early on was kind of balancing like BBC Earth vibes with whimsy, Magic School Busy vibes. Basically trying to make it fun for kids, but also show some real serious like biology of the area, geological makeup of the area, etc., and like the waterways. The important thing is the water. So making sure that we are bringing that natural water sound, but also bringing in some other things that are unique to the area. There's some fun wildlife that we were able to bring into this that was just happy accidents. And then we have this entire segment that's underground. This kind of experience, you have to have things happening all over. And that's where, especially the sound design comes in, is like pairing excellent sound in specific locations with the visuals that we have at different moments creates these Easter egg moments that allow the viewer to experience something for a second and then move on to something else that's happening to explain the entire story without just telling you the story.
My team and I were able to have influence in the actual design. So we thought a lot about like, well, how did we want to position everything in the room? Something that could play for a long time. It could be simple enough that it would make sense. And what we ended up deciding to do were 4 stereo pairs around the room.
With a subwoofer behind each wall.
With a subwoofer roughly in between on each wall, and also a quad set up in the ceiling. And so all of these are discrete channels. We kind of started with the idea of these being stereo pairs, but once this started being built, it was really clear that we needed to treat every single speaker like a mono source, almost like if you had a character animatronic from Disney World sitting here. We can use this speaker as that source for that Foley of the chipmunk or the deer that we put in, and it sounds very positional to this animal. And so we treated it like that. We also really determined, well, what height did we want these to be at? Did we want them to be low or high? And really, we settled with the idea of kind of an average adult male high up, because what I thought about is even if children are down here, it's just going to sound larger than life, and that's kind of the intent.
Yep.
And we still have these subwoofers hidden behind the screens.
And one of the cool things is we do have, with our playback system, the ability to have 12 completely independent channels of audio that we are able to send specific signals to specific speakers. We can literally tailor everything in the back end, so that way we are able to separate all of those specific speaker channels to get that nice, distinct audio in specific places of the room.
And I know a lot of people will ask, well, what speakers did you use? So let's go back here.
We honestly just used the JBL studio monitors because they were a fantastic resource. They sound great, but they were also very budget friendly. We were on a little bit of a tight budget, and so this was a happy medium that we were able to use a slightly bigger speaker, but we were able to use it in a way that we could maximize the ability and put some more into the creative that we would not have been able to otherwise.
Yeah, so Because this is going to be playing repeatedly for a long period of time, another factor here is we didn't want something that was so expensive that would become oppressive, expensive costs later. If something came up and a speaker needed to be replaced, we don't want to just have surprises for the museum. Something that's very high quality, standard, but also affordable.
I think these were about $400 for a pair. So if you had to replace them, it's not too bad of a cost. Whereas like a Genelec going to be like $3,000 a pair, which is a much tougher pill to swallow when you have to do a replacement. Same thing with the projectors. The projectors are somewhere in the ballpark of like $2,500 a piece versus $20,000, which would have been like the next step up projector that we were looking at for this ultra short throw situation.
And another thing, the way that we were working back home is that we were working with this as kind of a 2.1 stereo plus sub for each wall. Really focused in on that. And what Simon gave us was a singular video that had little asterisks on each wall. And those asterisks would say, well, where is the focal point? So what that allowed for us to do is go, okay, with this, when this is the focal point, we can draw people's attention over here, whether it be with a deer or a chipmunk.
Accentuate the sound.
Accentuate
where I want people looking.
Like where Simon wants the direct flow to be going. And that's what the great thing about sound is that it can really direct your eye to where the real focal point is.
And that's the beautiful partnership of sound and visual is you can use visual to lead sound and the same thing of sound to lead visual. So there are certain points where I have very obvious visuals happening, but there's also points where I've got a sound that happens behind you because I want you to turn around and look at what that is.
In the studios, we can make things sound incredible, but the things we can't account for is what is the space that it's in.
100%.
So there's a little bit of verb. You know, one of the things that I've kind of encouraged people around here to do is if you want to store things behind these walls would be great just to soak up sound and just diffuse it all over the place. And so in our studio, it sounds great. We have treated rooms, everything sounds fantastic. We hear everything exactly as it comes out of the speakers, out of the sub, but we cannot hear the space unless I'm actually here. So that's what I'm doing here is to go through it, listen to it a bunch of times, relay that information back to my team who are on the ready to make adjustments. So the other thing is that every single sound here has been recreated, including all of the animal Foley, just like BBC style, where we really put you right next to that animal to draw you in.
But that's just so cool.
So
that was
cool.
such a good moment to catch.
Can you tell me about this rock?
Yeah, so this is Balance Rock. This is actually a feature point in the park, and we added this into the experience because it's about a mile hike in the woods, so I wanted it to be something we could feature that people with a disability wouldn't have been able to experience otherwise, that they now get to experience a part of the park. And we got the bird over here. Now my favorite part.
So now we're going underwater to just explain the water cycle of going down into the earth for thousands of years.
Yep.
To heat up.
The dings you're hearing are the depth gauge. So it's basically on the sides, we're kind of bringing you like what's happening. So time passage, depth underground, water temperature, all kind of happening at once. Balancing that with Easter eggy things that you now see underground.
Aerial view of what I just walked.
This building is right there.
Amazing, and that's the loop. So Simon and I actually have to do some work, so I'll leave you at that. And you should come check out this exhibit if you're ever in Hot Springs. Hot Springs is a cool, eccentric place. I've never been here before, and it's definitely a hidden gem here, so